Call the meeting to order. We're going to ask Councilman Cook to lead us in prayer and Councilman Castile to lead us in the pledge.
We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Cook, and thank you, Mr. Castile. We welcome you to the City Parish Council meeting. We, as your representatives in the Lafayette Consolidated Government, welcome your involvement and encourage your participation. This meeting is a public hearing. If you wish to address the council on any item on this agenda, please fill out a blue request to address the council form, noting the agenda item number. The blue form is available to you in the foyer and should be submitted to the council clerk, Ms. Veronica L. Williams, seated to my left in the middle, prior to the call of that agenda item. It is important to fill in the blue form completely and note the specific agenda item numbers about which you wish to speak. If the card is not completely filled out or is not legible to the clerk, you will not be given the opportunity to speak. If you have materials you wish to submit to the council, please give those to Ms. Williams along with your blue form. In an effort to allow everyone an opportunity to be heard, the 5-minute rule will be in effect. Speakers shall refrain from debating, personal attacks, and from making confrontational or derogatory comments. I am requesting that the first row to my left be used for media only. Lastly, food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium, and all phones and electronic devices shall be silenced from this point forward. I am also requesting that anyone who approaches the council state their name and title for the official record. Meeting procedures are by resolution and not by Robert's Rules of Order. Documents including agendas, ordinances, resolutions, and minutes related to this meeting are posted online at www.lafayettela.gov or referred to the web address on the top of the agenda. The council encourages your involvement and participation by volunteering for boards and commissions. If you are interested in finding out which board suits your interests, call 291-8800 or pick up a pamphlet at the door. Got a number of announcements tonight. And members, there are a couple of things, at least one thing that, or two items that you need to be leery of. First of all, item number 27, ordinance number 072-2017. This is relative to the condemnation of 201 Jeanette Street is being pulled prior to introduction as to the owner has already demolished this structure. So item 27 is gone. There are two parish renewals. I want the public to know this. On the upcoming ballot, there are two parish renewals for the Courthouse and Detention Center, also one for the city for public buildings on the ballot. Early voting has begun. That happened on April 15th, and that'll go through April the 22nd. Is the early voting period, and April 29th is the election. We encourage those who are present here today and all those within the sound of my voice to please go out and cast your vote and let your voice be heard. And I would be remiss if I was to not tell you that these two parish renewals are exactly that. They are renewals. They are not new taxes. These are taxes that the public has already approved of, and I could tell you that the function of these entities would be at a very dire situation if these renewals does not go into effect. I would like to thank those municipalities, that's of course Scott, Carencro, Dusson, Youngsville, and Broussard, for their welcoming of our Revenue Evaluations Committee to speak to mayors and councils. This week we made our final stop at Carencro City Council meeting to kind of share what is going on as far as parish issues are concerned, and we just want to publicly thank those governing bodies for the reception that they gave us and the participation that they're going to put into this process. I would also like to wish Toby Aguilar, Lafayette Police Chief, a happy birthday, which he celebrates on April the 24th. I don't know if Chief is in here at this time, but Chief, happy birthday. Also, I would like to wish Jared Bellard, District 5 Council Member, a happy birthday, which he celebrates on April the 26th. Happy birthday, Councilman Bellard. There will be one final chair announcement is that on the appeal, the Planning Commission's appeal, there will be what's the word I'm looking for? A motion, no, it's gonna, there's a change being presented, so, note that when we get to the appeal, that there will be a motion, to change the language in that particular appeal. I think that is all of my announcements for tonight, so at this time, I'm gonna open the floor for any other council members, any announcements? Seeing none, so we're gonna go to the Executive President's Mayor Report. Mayor President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a few things to go over, so I'll go as quickly as possible. First, I'd like to bring up Terry Huval with LUS and ask for a moment of silence after he speaks for one of our employees.
This morning, one of our top engineers who had retired actually a little prematurely due to a long illness, Mona Simon, passed away. She had she and I actually were in college together, and she came to work for us after successfully running her dad's electrical contracting business for years, and became our chief engineer dealing with our fiber system. She was one of the pioneers that helped us get that system engineered and built and become what it is today. She'd been ill for a long time, and we're certainly going to miss her. She was a fine young lady, a very, very talented person. So I ask that all of you keep her in your prayers.
Thank you, Terry. We also have these posters up, and I'm going to ask Dee Nolan and Bess Foray to come up and give us a little information about what we're looking at.
I'm Dee Nolan, President-elect of Lafayette Garden Club. These posters represent a contest that children made for the anti-litter contest that we run every year, and this is a run-up to the Cleanest City contest, which we made our points in district, so we're going on to state again. Yes! The first place winner in the elementary category, which is the pitch-in poster, is Riley Rowell, fourth grade student, St. Pius Elementary. Oh, and a $50 check is what he got for his efforts.
Oh, man, he's a professional. He's not an amateur status anymore.
Second place winner from Catherine Drexel Elementary is Ethan Ellis. And a $30 check. Anybody here from Catherine Drexel? Well, we'll spend it after hours then. The third place winner from fourth grade is Jasmine Lorman from Evangeline Elementary. Boy, we can have a good time after hours. Okay, for the middle school category, first place is Trin Nguyen, seventh grade student at Edgar Martin. That's all right. Okay. You can come to the party too. Second place winner from Paul Bro Middle School, seventh grade, is Talia Pickney. Not here either. Woo! what a party we're gonna have. Third place winner from the 8th grade at Judice Middle School was a collaboration. Kennedy Pellerin, Jalen Campbell, Jesse Simon, and Callie Alvarado. Yeah, get a picture, girls. Be famous.
Yes, indeed.
Now, just take these thoughts home with you to your parents, to your friends. Nag them to death. Don't throw out trash. Okay, now we have the cleanest schools. Lafayette Garden Club is one of 5 clubs in the state that sponsor cleanest schools. The first place winner is Broadmoor Elementary, and a check for $100.
Each school gets a check for $200.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was just $100. Woohoo! Okay, the middle school first place winner was Edgar Martin, and they got the highest score overall, 201 points. Whoa! And the high school winner was Acadiana High. Keep those schools clean, because that's one thing the judges look at. Keep our city clean and green.
Thank you, Ms. D. Next up, I'd like to bring up Dr. Shanae Nelson, our Director of Community Development. I'm going to read a proclamation, and then she'll say a little bit about Community Development Week. The proclamation reads, whereas the Community Development Department is composed of a diverse group of programs and activities which serve the citizens of Lafayette Parish in many different ways. Whereas the Community Development partners with community organizations in federal, state, and local governments, and that activities administered and delivered by the Community Development Department rely heavily on the dedication and goodwill of their combined efforts. And whereas the Housing and Federal Programs Division applies for and manages grant funds received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the state of Louisiana, and other funding sources for a variety of purposes, including the construction and rehabilitation of affordable housing, down payment assistance to first-time home buyers, acquisition of firefighter safety equipment, the hiring of firefighters in street, water, and drainage improvement projects. And then, whereas the Hyman Performing Arts and Convention Center offers enrichment to the community while facilitating theater, arts, dance, music, culture, community events, and serves to broaden the horizons of over 60,000 patrons per year. Whereas the Lafayette Science Museum partners with local educational institutions and experts in the field to serve families, schools, and tourists, and served over 55,000 visitors through its exhibitions, planetarium shows, events, and educational outreach. Whereas the Acadiana Park Nature Station includes a 6-mile trail system located on 150 acres of bottomland hardwood forest with a half-a-mile of wheelchair-accessible boardwalk, seeks to reacclimate humans to their natural surroundings and reaches over 10,000 people annually. Whereas the Neighborhood Counseling Services Program provides comprehensive housing counseling and supportive services to low to and moderate income persons through one-on-one counseling and educational classes. Whereas the Greenhouse, Rose House, and Art Studios senior centers provide opportunities for our senior citizens to socialize and enjoy recreational activities at little to no cost. And whereas the Court Services Program assists first-time and repeat adult offenders in the criminal justice system with rehabilitative educational services and by scheduling community service hours. Whereas the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act program assists citizens with securing jobs that provide opportunities for economic independence and family stability, and partners with programs such as temporary assistance for needy families, supplemental nutrition assistance program, unemployment insurance, and veteran services to provide reemployment strategies and training services to adults, dislocated workers, and youth ages 16 to 24. Now, therefore, I, Joel Robideau, Mayor President of Lafayette Consolidated Government, do hereby acknowledge the accomplishments of the Community Development Department within the Lafayette community and give special thanks and recognition to all participants whose hard work and devotion help to enhance the quality of life within the Lafayette community. And in celebration of the contributions of the Community Development Department to the Lafayette community, do hereby declare April 17th through the 21st, 2017 as Community Development Week. Shanae?
Thank you, Mayor President Robideau, for the proclamation. The purpose of the Community Development Week and the hard work that was put into the activities for this week is truly to bring awareness to the public about all of the things that we do, all the wonderful programs and services that we provide to the public here in Lafayette Parish. And so I have here tonight the staff who worked really, really hard since November to work on putting together a number of activities for this week in recognition of Community Development Week. I'd also like to acknowledge that Community Development Week is a national occasion to highlight HUD-funded programs, and we wanted here at LCG to highlight all of our divisions that we offer here in the Community Development Department. So I'd like to tell you just briefly about the activities that we have planned for this week. On Monday, it was Arts and Culture Day. The Hyman Center had a behind-the-scenes open house, and the Nature Station had a zombie ants presentation, which I heard was really cool. On today was Housing and Federal Programs Day. We had a very well-attended fair housing workshop, which was wonderful. We also had a well-attended bus tour this afternoon of CDBG and home projects and other grant-funded projects that the Community Development Department have been a part of. Tomorrow, the museum will have a free admission day. For those of you spring break kids are out of school, would be an opportunity to check out the museum. On Thursday, Human Services and WIOA, the Rose House Senior Center will have their 20th anniversary open house, and the Lafayette Career and Business Solutions Center will have a resume writing workshop, followed by one-on-one counseling. And on Friday, come and join us for Cake and Punch here in City Hall in the atrium. At 2 o'clock, we'll have a culminating reception and tell you a little bit about the successes about the week and just a chance to join us. So I'd like to introduce to you the staff who really put a lot of hard work in putting this together. Each division had the autonomy to contribute in the way that they wanted to, and I think it came together just in a fantastic way. So I'd like to acknowledge them. Starting here, Ms. Quinn Francis works in WIOA. Ms. Shonda Moffitt, also within WIOA Workforce Development. Ms. Tina Johnstone is the WIOA manager for the Lafayette Career and Business Solutions Center. Diane Branham is the Housing and Federal Programs manager. Amy DeVille, the Human Services Manager, and Brian McGrath, Arts and Culture Manager. I'd like to thank them and their staff for all the hard work they put into making this week a great success. And thank you.
Mr. President, you don't take pictures with people you hire?
I was trying to go quick. I get fussed at.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman. Next is I'd like to bring up Ms. Cindy Delina. She's going to talk to you guys for just a few minutes about this 8 Days of Hope, faith-based organization. A couple of weeks ago, we had a press conference to make this incredible announcement that we were chosen, Lafayette Parish was chosen by this national organization to come in and to repair some of our flood-damaged homes. It's an unprecedented event for us. It's something that we need to get the outreach to the public to know, to take advantage of it. It's not difficult. People need to call 232-HELP, which I'm sure Cindy will allude to. But the one thing is we've got volunteers flying in from all over the country, professionals, electricians, plumbers, to come and to do this rebuild effort. They have partnered with Love Acadiana, and so I'd like for Cindy to say a few words and to encourage y'all to reach out to your constituents. And I wanted to do it in a public forum like this to make sure that any of the viewers and listeners know about the opportunity that's going to present itself in a very short period of time. So we need to make sure that we get the word out to as many folks as possible.
Mr. President, Cindy, if you could just give me 1 second, I need to make an announcement. I have been asked, for everyone who is standing, we ask that you take a seat to account for our capacity tonight, because we have a large crowd. We have fire watch here, and it's important that everyone is seated who can sit, so that they could manage the crowd better. We appreciate your cooperation, so if you could just find a seat in the facility, we would really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Good.
Thank you. Thank you to the Mayor, President, and Council members for allowing us this opportunity this evening to present 8 Days of Hope, a flood outreach for the whole community. We all know how hard it's been to assess the damage from the flood of 2016. It was very widespread, and so many have not asked for help because either they don't know how, or they feel that there's others worse off than themselves and they pass so that somebody else can be helped. Imagine if we're able to use this opportunity to identify all the homeowners that still need help rebuilding their homes, whether it's hanging sheetrock, painting, repairing roofs, installing floors, trim, or doors. It's a huge task to redo an entire home in one time. Then imagine that we can help 300 of these homeowners in an 8-day span with about 3,000 volunteers, both locally and from throughout the nation. Imagine the hope that this will bring to the Acadiana area. I'm Cindy Delina from Love Acadiana. This is Brian Reinhart, along with George and Roxanne Graham from the Graham Group, and my staff, and Tony Critter for Catholic Charities. We represent those that were hosting the 8 Days of Hope event. 8 Days of Hope, it's their 13th event, is taking place June 4th to 11th in partnership with Mayor Joel Robideau, United Way of Acadiana, the Roman Catholic Diocese of Lafayette, the Acadiana VOAD, the Red Cross, UMCOR, Rebuilding Together, Upbring, and Habitat for Humanity, and other organizations. It's a very collaborative effort. We expect thousands of volunteers from around the country to join rebuilding 300 homes in just 8 days. It's an unprecedented opportunity to come together for the local government, the nonprofits, the churches, businesses, and the local community to serve the homeowners that are still struggling to recover from the flood of 2016 August. So we want to involve you as council members, because you're instrumental in being able to reach all of your constituents to get them to ask for help. So they can recover from this flood. There is no job too small. We can come in and paint a few rooms. We can install sheetrock. We can do all of those tasks. And there's three ways in which we are asking for your help. The first one, really the main one that's most urgent, is identifying those homeowners. We have to get them processed by that June 4th date. We have to do construction assessments. We have to pull permits. We have to meet with them and hear their story and just start the hope building process. So we have 276 in process, but it's a long process, and we will be able to also provide help to those homeowners after the 8 Days of Hope with different organizations if we are not able to get to them that week. But we are trying to get more homeowners to reach out for help by May 1st so that we can start that process. Secondly, we need volunteers. We have typically they have over 2,500 volunteers coming from around the country for these events. We would love to have at least 500 volunteers from the local community joining them. And thirdly, finances. We were generously gifted a $250,000 grant from the Roman Catholic Diocese. of Lafayette, and it's a matching grant, and we are, along with 8 Days of Hope, we are all in the community raising the matching portion of those funds for this project. All of this information can be found on flyers that we will have outside the door and that we've passed out individually for you, and can also be found at our website, loveacadiana.org. So while Love Acadiana and all of our partners have invested more than $10 million in flood relief efforts, it really doesn't compare to the hope that we've been able to see restored in hundreds of homeowners that we've been working on through the flood. So lastly, a thank you to Mayor President Robert Benoit for meeting with us all during this long process of recruiting 8 Days of Hope to choose Lafayette. Thank you to the council members for attending the press conference we had several weeks ago. And thank you to Carly Alm-Labar and her chief building official, Bruce Williams, and his staff for kind of help us find ways that we can make sure our permits are pulled properly and quickly to get these homeowners signed up. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. And the only thing I want to add is for constituents and folks that are listening, if you had insurance or you didn't have insurance, if you've almost finished and just ran out of money, or if you hadn't even started, please contact either Love Acadiana 232-HELP. All these folks want to do is get people back in their homes. It doesn't matter what your situation is or why you where you are, but they want to finish it out for you. They want to get people back in. So encourage your friends, family, anyone that you know, and let's take advantage of it. And we've committed to house them. We're going to fill up the Cajun Dome and the Convention Center and Blackham Coliseum, wherever we can put them. They're sleeping on cots. They're all flying here because of the food and because they want to do God's work. And so let's make sure that we give them a good list of homes to work on and get the word out. So Cindy, thank you all for everything that y'all have done. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any council members have any questions of Cindy or any of the volunteer groups? There is
Great.
none, but thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank y'all. And the last thing, just really brief, Mr. Chairman and members, is I wanted to make sure that everyone knew, both the public and the council, that we did purchase a metal detector for the council auditorium. It's been built, and for the next council meeting, we will have it up and operational. And so we'll go through, and if there's metal in your bags, and we'll have folks to operate the metal detector. But it's a step that's probably long overdue for both the protection of the public and the protection of the process here. And so at the next meeting, I think, is sometimes in early May. So we'll have it up and running. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or we can get together after the meeting. But we'll have folks operating it. And so for those that come to the meetings, you may want to come a little bit early because we may be working out some kinks as the line goes through. But it's something that I felt like was really important to do. So we do have it, and we're going to start that at the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll move to ceremonial presentations. Jeremy, could you please read item number 5?
Recognition of the External Affairs Customer Advisor of Midcontinent Independent Systems Operator Incorporated, MISO, regarding LUS partnership.
Mr. Conk?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the past, we've had some conversations regarding MISO and its impact on the utility rates that the residents of City of Lafayette pays to the Lafayette utility system. Of course, LUS is a community-owned organization, and we've been partners with MISO since 2013. So I thought it was appropriate that we had the opportunity to bring in some reps from MISO to give us a better understanding of the arrangement that we have with this organization and how we play a part, and certainly how we benefit from that. And I thought, is Terry going to make the introductions? Terry Huval, our Director of LUS, will formally introduce Mr. Hamilton.
Good evening. The Midcontinent Independent System Operator, MISO, as we call it, has been a very important part of Lafayette and LUS. And I'd probably say of all the things that this council and LPUM deal with, the cost of electricity and the cost of fuel and the cost of buying power has got to be one of the most expensive parts of it all. So we have to pay very close attention to the things that we do to try to keep those costs as low as we can for our customers. In 2013, LUS was caught with somewhat of a dilemma. The way that the transmission grid was going to be treated going forward was going to change, and either LUS was going to operate as an independent island, which would create a number of costs and situations we might have had to deal with, or we could join this entity called MISO. We had some experience in knowing about MISO from others, but we had not been part of it ourselves. I will tell you it has been a very positive thing for our utility system. Our customers are seeing a 10% less on their electric bills since we've joined MISO. And I know, you may be surprised about that, but we actually have reduced costs to customers because of the relationship with MISO, because what they do is look at it from a broader landscape as to where's the cheapest power for us to be able to bring to our system. And so, since there's been some discussion in recent times about, how MISO works, and this council has never really had a chance to visit firsthand with them. Of course, our staff deals with MISO quite regularly. We invited them to come over and visit with us. Mr. Scott Hamilton is going to make a little presentation for you. I told him to make sure it was less than 2 hours. Less than 15 minutes. And so he'll be able to provide you some information and answer any questions that you might have. So, Mr. Hamilton? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Huval. To Mayor President Robideau, City Council members, thank you for the time for allowing us to present today and talk to you a little bit about what we do at MISO. As Mr. Huval said, we've been here working with you all since 2013. And so some of the things that we're going to talk about today I'd like to present to you is to give you a little bit about what we do, why we do it, how we do it, and what the benefits ultimately can be to you all. I think each of you may have a copy of a corporate fact sheet. I'll talk a little bit about that, but in the formal presentation, we'll talk a little bit about how we operate. Again, my name is Scott Hamilton. I'm with the MISO External Affairs Division with MISO in the South region, which is headquartered in the Little Rock area. We also have offices in Metairie, Louisiana as well. So let's talk about what MISO does and how it does it. MISO, again, we're a nonprofit organization, 501c4, and that's for the public good. But if you look at the graphic that we have, we pretty much operate in that space where you see the transmission towers. The generation portion to your left could be anything. It could be gas, it could be wind, solar, could be coal. We're agnostic. It doesn't matter to our corporation what type of energy sources come in. What we do is just manage those electrons. A good analogy would be like an air traffic controller, if you would. The electrons being like an airplane. So our role is to make sure that electricity flows across those transmission lines from the generating source to the ultimate end space. End space or end user would be your cities, your counties or towns, industrial customers, or what have you. So again, our role is simply to manage those electrons to make sure that they move. We don't own the transmission grid. We don't own any of the generation. But again, our role is to, again, manage that process. The way we do it is through a operations and control center. That's a picture of one of our control centers. They're 24-hour operations. Again, like I said, using that air traffic controller analogy, you would see in our space a system of computers where we actually see the system working. So we can see power plants as they're operating, we can see their output, we can see the electric flow on the grid, and again, that's what our operators do on a daily basis. We're constantly looking at making sure that we mitigate any issues that could cause congestion or result in where those electrons could not flow. So the purpose of that is to, again, create a reliable grid and also a market structure that looks to create the lowest cost of electricity. On a daily basis, we're looking at different generating sources that are bidding into our system. And what they're doing is they're giving us pricing. From that pricing, we begin to look at the load or the demand on the other end. As you know, electricity cannot be stored. So this is an instantaneous process. We're constantly looking at what demand's on. So every time you turn on a computer, your television, light switch, demand has gone up. And so at that point, our system is looking at that and finding a way to get that electricity scheduled and moved to that end user. So it's a very complex process, a system of very smart people, a lot smarter than me, a lot of computer algorithms that we use. System is constantly looking at, the next contingency or a possible failure or congestion on the network. So our folks are constantly saying, okay, what if something fails? What if there's a transmission line that fails? What if there's a generator that goes out? Again, we're planning for that to make sure we're prepared to make modifications to the operations so that the electricity continues to flow. So again, I must say it's very complex scenarios that they work on each day, but we do this over a 15-state region, kind of in the middle section of the U.S., from Manitoba, Canada, all the way down to the Gulf. So pretty large platform that we cover. So what does that mean to Lafayette? What it means is by participating in a larger operation as we operate is the benefit of a large market. What we've seen with LUS specifically is fuel savings over the last 3 years of about $10.5 million. That's pretty serious money. Also, reserve sharing. What that is that being able to operate in a larger network, the parish and the city does not have to maintain certain amounts of generation that's just there available. As I mentioned earlier, when that light switch comes on, there's got to be electricity somewhere ready to go to that point. By participating in a larger footprint, LUS has seen about $6 million a year in O&M savings, and that's a direct result of being able to decommission one of the power plants in your footprint. So again, we believe the opportunity here is the larger footprint gives that opportunity for a shared concept of a larger footprint and a lot more reliability. One of the neat things about electricity is there's different ways that you can generate it. You're probably familiar with coal, certainly gas, nuclear, as well as renewables. What you see on this graphic is actually the fuel mix for our MISO footprint. And so what we do is we schedule all of these different types of resources. As I said before, we're indifferent of the generation source. What we're looking for is a reliability and ability to get that power delivered. So as you can see, currently our fuel source mix is about 43% natural gas, about 35% coal, about 14% in renewables, and about 8% in nuclear. And so again, what that means is the opportunity for our members and customers to be able to benefit from the diversity, if you will, of generation types, reliability, and cost. So with that, I did want to keep this a very brief presentation. It's difficult to go behind great posters and clean cities competitions, but certainly we'd like for you all, if you have any questions, to reach out to us. We wanted to share again today what it is that we do, and we certainly appreciate the time and opportunity.
Thank you. Before you go, in your benefit slide, there was something called stakeholder transparency.
Yes. What that is that, again, as us being a nonprofit, and so that we don't technically have any stake whatsoever in what type of fuel source, what type of generation, one of the things that we really cherish is stakeholder transparency. Stakeholders being any members or any participants that benefit from the work we do. And so everything that we have is public information. We can share it with anyone. You can get information and data about the decisions we make. We have a stakeholder process. So decisions are made where our members come in, have an opportunity to share their needs, and then we look at how best to aggregate all of those needs. So transparency.
It trickled down from MISO to LUS as a partner is what you're saying?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And that could trickle down to our customers if we so choose.
Absolutely.
In any form, showing them the work that you all are doing, in particular as generating cost savings for our system and reliability.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Now, you mentioned generation out, you anticipate those things, but we in hurricane country, y'all can't prevent power outages?
Well, we do have a tool that we're working on. It's called Run. And no, we can't. But that is a great question. That's one of the things that, it's a big deal for us, right? We recognize the issues here, certainly in different parts of our footprint. You have ice storms, tornadoes, what have you. Here, unfortunately, there are hurricanes. Now, fortunately, you get a little warning with a hurricane. Just this past week, we did some hurricane preparedness training. We're doing that with Entergy, CLECO. All of the members, you guys will be participating in that. Finding ways to make sure that we've got good communication protocol, understanding how that grid needs to come back up. But the beauty of this system is, as you saw in the operations center, is that as those generating units are coming back on, we've got a bigger picture. We can see where the challenges are to help expedite that. So Unfortunately, no, we can't stop those hurricanes, but certainly we believe that this can be a benefit in trying to get the lights back on.
Thank you so much. Okay. Any members have questions? Mr. Lewis?
Yes, sir. I noticed on your presentation you said a cost saving to the city of $6 million. That's per year, or just $6 million at one time?
That's been that's a yearly savings of not having to run the dock bonding plant.
Right.
And so that's your operation, maintenance, and some of the fuel costs associated.
Okay. I'm going to reserve my next question to Terry later. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. There seems to be no other questions. Mr. Conk, you had anything else? Mr. Uval, you fine? Anything? Yeah. Okay. Mr. President, anything for this presentation? Okay. We thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move to comments from the public. Again, we do have some blue cards for comments. Thank you very much. Again, this portion of the meeting is an opportunity to make your voice heard before the council, the administration, and the public. This is the time to speak about topics that are not included as agenda items. As I noted earlier, requests to make comments specific to an agenda item should be made prior to the call of that agenda item by completing a blue request to address the council form for each agenda item you wish to address, with that agenda item number noted on the blue form. Please, we request that all matters regarding specific city parish employees be directed to the administration and that it not be addressed at this public forum. We as a council have a concern for the privacy and protection of government employees. With that said, however, if your concern is not resolved in either an expeditious or satisfactory fashion, there are other avenues which you can be pursued, and we ask that you follow up with the council office. Again, confrontational statements and/or threats will not be tolerated. We ask that you conduct yourself in a civil manner and with the same courtesy that you would expect from others. The 5-minute rule does remain in effect. Can I please have the first speaker?
First of all, there were 2 citizens who did not wish to speak who signed in support of renewable energy. The first of 3 speakers, Simon Mahan.
And when you approach, both mics are available to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Simon Mahan. I'm a resident of District 2. I'm a LUS customer. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you, and thank you for bringing representatives from MISO to come and talk about electric issues for Lafayette. I think this is probably the first time that has happened, and it's really exciting to get to hear from our grid operator how things are operating. I'm also very glad to hear we're saving tens of millions of dollars, potentially over time. I would like to encourage the council to think about sending some of that money back to the ratepayers in forms of energy efficiency programs and renewable energy incentives. But my main comment that I wanted to come and talk to you about it revolves around a little something that happened last night. Last night I took my 6-year-old son outside at around 8:20 p.m. At 8:29, the International Space Station was actually flying over Lafayette. And so if you were to look off to the west and look up and see this glowing orb flying through the air, it's really quite incredible. It happens fairly frequently. You can look it up online and find it at any time. But as we go out onto our street and kind of look up, there's no moon outside, and so it should be really, really dark. You should see loads and loads of stars. And talking to my son about this, he didn't find it all that inspiring. He didn't see too many stars. We were able to see the Big Dipper. We saw Orion's Belt. We saw the International Space Station as the brightest thing in the sky. But there was something missing. When I grew up in rural Missouri, you could go outside in the middle of the night, particularly during the summertime. You could look up and see all these different constellations, all these different stars. You could even see the Milky Way in some of these nights. But as time went on in this little town that I grew up in, we started trading the starlight for sodium light bulbs for our street lights and for mercury street lights. And I'm very much in favor of streetlights. I think that's a very good thing. However, we've come to a point now where technology has improved that we no longer need these really inefficient streetlights that block out our stars. And so if you look at things like LED streetlights, they actually reduce energy consumption by up to 90%. Those are streetlights that we pay for through our taxes to keep lit. So as a form of efficient government, we can install LED streetlights that not only reduce the light pollution so we can see the beautiful stars at night, but we can also save money on government operations. I went to the Smart City Summit just a few weeks ago. Fantastic event, really inspiring to see what's going on in all these different communities all across the country, and kind of gives us a sneak peek at what's next and what can we look towards for Lafayette. And one of the things that kind of caught my ear was a representative from CGI talking about communities that were installing these LED street lights, and in particular neighborhoods where there's not a lot of traffic at nighttime, you can actually dim those lights a little bit. And so you're reducing the amount of light pollution, you're saving money even more by dimming the lights, and they're motion detected. So if there's a car driving by for safety, they brighten back up. And if you've ever been to the Target on the north side of town, you've seen that happen as you walk through the cold aisles where the lights, the LED lights inside the refrigerators aren't on until you move through, and then they turn on. And so it's just a business practice nowadays. The private industry gets it, where you install these motion sensors for LED lights to reduce your overall costs, and in my case, help my son see the stars for his future. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Haywood Martin.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Haywood Martin. I'm here as a resident of City of Lafayette, District 6, and also as Vice Chair for Sierra Club, the Acadian group, centered here in Lafayette, but our group extends really from the Atchafalaya Basin all the way out to Lake Charles and north up to Alexandria. I want to applaud the City of Lafayette and LUS for their movement, their integration, or their working with the MISO. I think time has come for us to get outside of just our city limits and integrate with some more versatility, more diversity in terms of what electricity we use. I note that in Texas and some other places, people actually have the option to purchase different sources of electricity on their electric bills. And I would just like to make a general statement in terms of encouraging City of Lafayette and LUS to move more aggressively towards clean energy and renewable energy, and actually make that a policy choice. In other words, make it something that we want to do, because clean energy is good for the economy. It diversifies our economy, it creates jobs, and it's good for the environment, and it's a direction that the future, where the future is. And the past, of course, dirty energy, fossil fuels. I'm a little troubled that we're replacing some of our coal use with natural gas, which is another fossil fuel. It's a little bit cleaner, but I think that we could even do better. I note that in a news article that I saw or heard just the other day, that a Toyota plant locating in, the corporation locating in Kansas, as a corporate policy, is asking for renewable energy as part of its electric supply. So I think if we choose to move in a direction of renewable energy, clean energy, we make ourselves a more attractive place to do business and to develop a clean community, one with an image that is looking forward. So I just wanted to say, good work so far. Let's keep moving towards clean, renewable energy. I think the MISO is a real help in that regard. I would like to see, I'm a little troubled to see that our integrated resource plan, our IRP, the current one doesn't provide for any renewable energy at all. Maybe we ought to relook at that and look at some other possibilities. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Let's keep the good work going. Lafayette's got a lot to be proud of, and I'd like to see us move into the electrical future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Final speaker under this item is Andy Abear, and he did provide me with 2 documents, but 1 copy, so when copies could be made, it will be provided to you.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members. 2 months ago, I presented a petition to de-annex my property from the city of Lafayette in order to solve the parish funding problem. I have not received any information for it, so I've sent in a public information request to find out what is the status of that and when it will become before the council. My other request was to have you place on your website the number of registered cities voters by district. Because as you know, the city of Lafayette, 4 council members sitting up here out of the 9, represent over 70% of the city of Lafayette population. And as I understand in the United States of America, we're supposed to have taxation with equal representation. And I don't believe we have it. Therefore, I have a public information request asking for the number of registered city voters in the city of Lafayette in each district, the number of City of Scott registered voters by each district, the number of City of Carencro voters by each district, the number of Dusson voters by each district, the number of City of Broussard voters by each district, and the number of Youngsville voters by each district, and also the number of unincorporated voters by each district. And as I realized when I made this request, one of you represents 100%, I believe it's District 8, represents 100% of the registered city voters, which means you have no unincorporated voters. No? 6. District 6. You have no unincorporated voters, which means the unincorporated areas have taxation without equal representation, because each of you should have at least equal number of registered unincorporated voters, just like the city, because your jurisdiction, according to your ordinances, is the city of Lafayette and the unincorporated areas only. So that raises a big question for me. Am I really in the United States of America where you have taxation with equal representation, or am I in a foreign country? And I think you have the capability and the probability to solve that problem by becoming Parish 1. It is time to unite and be Parish 1. Where all this, we elect y'all all by the parish. So all of you should be Parish 1. And as I said, the state constitution says when a merger occurs, it is a responsibility of the governing authority to merge the assets of that being merged, the city of Lafayette, to the parish. It's time you direct, Mr. President, to do that. Because that's what I believe people voted for in 1996, was to be one. It is time to do that. Thank you, and I appreciate looking forward to having my ordinance for de-annexation become Parish 1 before you. Thank you.
And before you go, just to make sure that we're clear, did you submit a public records request, or did you consider the statement you just made a public record?
I submitted a copy.
You did already to the clerk?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Making a copy for legal.
Perfect. Just want to make sure so we don't drop the ball. Is that our last speaker? Okay. So that's going to close out comments from the public. We're going to now move to reports and/or discussion items. Please read item number 7, Jeremy.
Evangeline Thruway Redevelopment Team Update.
Carly, are you handling this?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carly Omlabar. I'm the Planning, Zoning, and Development Director. I'm up here with Skyra. You want to introduce yourself?
I am Skyra Rito. I am the chairwoman for the Evangeline Thruway Redevelopment Team.
We also have a couple people here tonight, some fellow members of the ETRT that I'd like to recognize. I think we saw Harry Weiss, Mitzi Duyon, and there's one other.
Alex Lazard.
Alex Lazard is here. So we want to thank them for coming, and Neil LaBeouf and Kathy Gilbert in my office, who spend a lot of time on this work, are also here, crowded auditorium this evening. So we wanted to give you all an update on the progress of the Evangeline Corridor Initiative. It's been a little while. We've kept you briefed, I think, through memos, but it's been a little while since we've given you a short update on what's been going on. So we're going to do that. Skyra and I are going to go back and forth, tag team. So just to kind of reframe our thinking, you all may remember that in late 2014, we were awarded a federal Tiger grant to do neighborhood planning up and down the I-49 corridor in conjunction with the state's I-49 design process. The goals of that work, which are on the screen above you, were really 3. It was to look at land use in the corridor to help protect and build on the neighborhoods. It was about planning for infrastructure improvements, and you'll hear a terminology tonight called catalyst projects that we are also looking to do in the neighborhoods to help rebuild and bring investment into the neighborhoods and take advantage of the and mitigate the interstate's impacts on the neighborhoods up and down the corridor. So over the last year, we've been working and we've been out in the neighborhoods, and we are about to spend the next 2 months with kind of our final public outreach push before we unveil the corridor plan. And so we wanted to talk to you a little bit about what that looks like.
So between now and May 22nd, which I think is about 5 weeks, we're going to be hosting a meetings in a box. We'll allow the community, citizens, members of the ETRT to go out and host small group meetings to collect feedback on the feedback that we received from the workshops and the event we had last year. So we've asked our ETRT members to host at least three meetings, depending on which groups that they are already a part of and the groups that we have previously met with as well. We are trying to build support and awareness for the work that we have already been doing in the neighborhoods, and also to build momentum for the large open house that we'll be having on June 8th.
These are built around a model that was very successful for us during the comprehensive planning process. So we are working these meetings in a box. We basically do small groups. You can host them with your friends, or you can host them with fellow, people interested. Church groups have hosted them, neighborhood groups, et cetera. We kind of put everything together for the hosts. We have a really simple facilitator packet, and we do things like create electronic invites, which look like that, so that people can really try and get the word out to their friends to participate. We make it as accessible as possible because we want as much input as possible.
We have about 40 plus catalyst projects that we've identified from the feedback that we have received from all of the neighborhoods. They will all be laid out as you see on the screen in front of you, for people to be able to prioritize the projects that they want to see in their neighborhoods. And this is what the ranking system will look like, whether they think it's a low priority project or a high priority project for their neighborhoods. And they will be available. They are district specific, just like we originally did when the project was first started. So there will be 5 separate districts. We realize also that some districts may bleed into others. So if people want to come and pick up a packet for their district, but also a neighboring district, they have the opportunity to do so as well.
One of the other things, which this is difficult to read when we go out and do the meetings, this will be bigger for people to touch and feel, but we've mapped both the proposed catalyst projects, but also took the existing capital improvement projects that are in and around the corridor, as well as planning projects, so that people, a lot of folks don't know the things that are already happening in and around the neighborhoods that are in our capital budget, or projects that have been either funded or identified. So we tried to kind of put that all in one place for people to have an appreciation for things that LCG is already doing in their neighborhoods, and then kind of map that in conjunction with the proposed catalyst projects. So going into one of the things that we've really stressed both with our staff and with the ETRT members is that we want these 5 weeks of meetings in a box to build to our open house event, which is will be held on Thursday, June 8th at Rosa Parks from 4 to 8 p.m. And we'll make sure to continue to give you guys information about that. That'll be an open house event, which will both consolidate the feedback from meetings in a box and report on that, and then give people an additional opportunity to talk about kind of the additional conclusions and things we don't get to in the meeting in a box. The purpose is, again, to give people an opportunity to rank and prioritize the catalyst projects that we've identified, and then to allow them to see what the sketch of the corridor plan and the district design manuals will look like. We'll have it divided basically into 3 parts. We'll have a presentation that will show kind of the status of the Evangeline Corridor work so far and how we've gotten to this point. We'll have district stations that break down the potential catalyst projects by district. And then we'll also have a corridor-wide presentation where we tease what the final plan is going to look like, because this open house will really probably be our last great opportunity for public input before we have draft design manuals and a draft corridor plan ready. Once we have those drafts, we'll go back out in the public to validate the work that we've done, but this is kind of our our last big input to take any real new ideas. So it's really important that we get the word out and get as much participation as possible.
Right. So we are inviting the community and the citizens and residents in Lafayette to participate in our meetings in a box. They have the opportunity to download it themselves from the website. Also, they can go to the Rosa Parks Transportation Center and ask for Neil, and Neil can also hand them packets as well. We would like for everyone to engage, so if you can get the information out to your constituents as well. The ETRT members will also be participating to help host and facilitate meetings, to get people acclimated to the process and what those catalyst projects look like and what they can actually do and how they can work to revitalize the neighborhoods here in our community. So that will be between now and May 22nd. There'll be a little buffer period, and then we'll have the open house on June 8th.
And the packets will be available for download tomorrow from the website. And we're happy to answer any questions you all have.
So Carly, go back to your first slide.
First slide.
Might be your
Right,
second
start
slide.
over. That one?
Yeah. Okay, these are your 3 objectives.
Yes.
When you meet these objectives, what do you do with that as it relates to the corridor?
So our hope is really twofold, like that we bring you a corridor plan that has catalyst projects identified, that both you as a potential funding body, but also public-private partnerships are motivated to attract investment in the corridor. Because that's really the #1 goal of this project, is to figure out how to make targeted neighborhood investments that will help the neighborhoods either come back, rejuvenate, revitalize, or provide investments that help build neighborhood community and support.
Right, so at the end of the day, just to be clear, this is still about local government and local people and local investments. This is not truly about the I-49 corridor as we know it, the DOTD and the federal highway.
That's correct. It was always envisioned that this project would happen in advance of the connector, in conjunction with the connector, and after the connector.
I knew that.
Right. It's good for people to hear.
I said months ago, when you talk about ETRT and the corridor and the connector, for the average person, they think it's all one and the same.
Right.
And I think we need to start being clear on that so we could start having very accurate and very on point and necessary discussions.
Right.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes, what time will you guys be planning on having these meetings? What time of the day?
The meetings in a box are really driven by the hosts and the facilitators, so that is entirely up to who wants to help us host them and facilitate them. So we'll do them before work hours, during work hours, after work hours, and we'll work with whoever is interested in hosting or facilitating to figure that out.
And I heard somewhere along the line that y'all say 3 meetings per host or 3 meetings
So
total?
we
The
have,
ETR,
go
the
ahead.
ETR team members will be responsible for hosting at least 3 members. We are a 15-member body. So between 15 members, we'll be expected to host about 45 meetings just from the membership.
Okay, so you're saying 15. So most likely these meetings will be held, I know you can't say where, but District 3 and 4 is more or less in the center of the connector. So will we be reaching out mostly in that area, or are we planning on going somewhere in other districts?
Depends on whoever wants to host a meeting, wherever they would like to host it. So it could be specifically in their district or anywhere else in the city and parish of Lafayette.
We are also going to have a few staff-facilitated workshops that we do at Rosa Parks, and we'll inform you of when those are.
And your
So that if
staff,
people don't have a particular affiliation with a group, that they'll still have an opportunity to participate.
and the staff, your staff will be your staff or staff
Yes.
from where?
The planning department,
Planning department?
yes.
Okay.
I'm going to add to what Mr. Lewis said. Make sure some meetings happen in Macomb, Vitae, Freetown, Puerto Rico, Laplace, and everywhere along the place. And make sure that the majority of the people who is there is people who live there and work there now. Maybe even check an address and make sure they're within a certain mile distance of this location, so that the results could be something that the people who have to experience every day is what they actually want.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to reach out to the residents who live in the districts and in the corridor.
And we also track their information if they're willing to provide it to us.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from council members? Mr. Lewis?
And I just want to get back on the host. Who determine who are the hosts? I mean, who determines that?
Any citizen can host a meeting.
Oh, any citizen can hold.
And
can
the
host a meeting.
packets will, starting tomorrow morning, the packets will be available on the website to download. Now, we are here to help and facilitate if people want it, but that's not required.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. There seems to be no other discussion from council members. Any blue cards on this item? No, sir. Okay. All right. Ladies, thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to now move to ordinances for final adoption. Again, this is a public hearing, and blue sheets are available for anyone wishing to address the council. The 5-minute rule does remain in effect. Jeremy, could you please read item number 8?
Ordinance 55, 2017, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council declaring the building or structure located at 719 North Sterling Street, Lafayette, Louisiana, owned by Michael Keith Bernard to be dilapidated and dangerous to the public welfare and ordering the condemnation of same.
Motion by Nakhan, second by Lewis. Council discussion on this matter? Okay, seeing none, any blue cards?
We do have 2 speakers signed up, the first of which is Michael K. Bernard, and I do have a packet of information.
Mr. B?
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the council. I received this letter about, it's my great-grandmother's property, and that they want to condemn it. And after my father died, I did a little work on it, but then my mother died, and I guess I put it on the back burner. And Randy Viator had said, you know, Mike, it might come up on that list sooner or later. Well, in the meantime, when I got the letter, I did redo the walls on the inside. That's been done on the inspection report. The ceiling's been repaired. The floors are pretty good. They have to refinish them, but those parts have been done. But I just don't have the time to do it. And what I've done is I've got a sales agreement with Mr. Brandon Calhoun with True Value Property Solutions. And he's been very professional and proactive. He, even after we signed the sales agreement, he actually got my yard man to clean up the yard and everything and knock down the bushes. So actually, we're just waiting. We're hoping that y'all would waive the ordinance to condemn the house so we can sell it and he can get to work fixing it, because he said he'd probably have it done in about 60 days.
Okay.
If Brandon would like to say
Well,
a few
he's
words.
probably, is he signed in to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna get to him shortly. Mr. Vitar, you wanna step up and get us an update for the members? And I think this, Mr. Lewis, this is in your district?
I believe so. Yeah, I looked. I thought it was in yours, but it's in Mr. Lewis's.
Okay, all right. Randy, can you bring us up to date and give us a progress report as far as where inspections are on this property, please?
Yes, we first inspected the house. We had a complaint in February of 2008. Like Mr. Bernard stated, I mentioned to him a couple of times that we were getting complaints from the neighbors that sooner or later it's going to be one of the houses that we're going to have to bring up for condemnation. And then we were getting complaints lately, and then we brought up the ordinance to condemn the house.
Okay, in the current status today, do we have any?
Yes, you see the
Current
you see the pictures they were taken
in the
this
folder?
morning.
I'm sorry, members, stay in your folder. Okay. Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, Mr. Bernard,
Yes, sir.
okay, what I'm looking at right now, this morning, how long has this house been like this?
In '08, I didn't own the house. My father was still alive. The house has been, the outside, well, the inside is fixed up, but the outside's been like that for, I don't know, '09, '10, something like that I'm aware of.
So do you live around there? No, I mean, do you live next door on that
Oh, no,
street?
no, sir.